All right, welcome back everyone to the Utopia Experience live stream. My name's Sheldon Price. I'm your moderator for this session. Today's session, we're talking about secrets of public speaking, empowering audiences to achieve. And to speak on this topic, we have two incredible guests for you. First off, somebody you might recognize, Joey Goone, the president of Utopia Experience. It's a full-scale event company here specializing in AV production, videography, event planning, based out of St. Louis, Missouri, but that doesn't mean that we're only doing events here in St. Louis. Utopia produces all over the US, from California to New Jersey, and even tomorrow we're heading down to produce an event in Texas. Joey can also be found speaking on stage at a lot of events, and he's an active member of the Entrepreneurs Organization. And our other amazing guest here is Jacob Brown, a former NFL athlete turned motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and coach who inspires with his fail forward mantra. He's celebrated for transforming setbacks into stepping stones. Jacob has been a TEDx speaker 3 times and featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and on Good Morning America. He empowers audiences at Fortune 500 companies, conferences, and universities, sharing insights on resilience and how to hunt your goals. Beyond speaking, he mentors individuals and teams, fostering leadership and personal growth daily. Get ready to be inspired by Jacob's journey and ready to turn your failures into fuel. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys so much. It's really good seeing you guys. Obviously, Joey, very, very good seeing you as we met last year. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's good to be here. By the way, I don't know if my audio came through on LinkedIn. It might have like doubled the audio for a second because I was trying to share this stream on my personal page. But I think since we're both tagged on the Utopia Experience page, it should cross promote and share hopefully to our respective personal networks. That would be ideal because then there's a lot of friends that be able to tune into the conversation. And Jacob, I'm happy to have you here, man. I was wearing a blue hoodie, a Utopia hoodie. And I went upstairs and I intentionally changed my shirt because I wanted to wear something brighter that like more represented the soul of who you are. Because I picked yellow because it's the color of light. And you are such a light for people who might be going through challenge and darkness, which I think right now is pretty consistent across the board, just given the nature of the political climate that happens literally every 4 years. History repeats itself. And you're such a light. I'm just grateful to have you here, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's funny because my brand color, if you guys follow me, is orange. So you'll see my orange watch. I also earlier had on my orange glasses, but I changed them to blue. So maybe throughout this live, maybe I'll bounce back and forth. But it's funny that you said that, Joey. You know, it's when we first met, we had a lot of similarities and a lot of things that we had in common. And I just appreciate who you are as a human being and having me on the show. Looking forward to the conversation.
When we first met, you might remember I was holding this little one either in my arms or she was in a stroller, and she's almost 2 now, which is just
oh my gosh,
so hard to believe.
Yeah, time is flying.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, and time will fly very quickly in this conversation. I'm sure you guys have a lot to talk about too. And for those of you who are watching at home, please feel free to leave your questions in the chat. We're streaming live on multiple platforms. So wherever you're watching, please put your questions down there and we'll try our best to answer them at the end of the show. And even if you're watching this tomorrow, days after the fact, drop your questions in. Jacob and Joey might be able to still answer them down the road. But to get us started, Jacob, I know you have such a cool mantra and mentality. Can you tell us a little bit more of fail forward in general, both as kind of a mantra, but as something what you've built it into?
Yeah. So failing forward for me came back in 2006, right before I went to the NFL. My favorite aunt down in Atlanta, Georgia, she brought that message to me when she asked me what happens if football didn't work out. And she told me if I was ever going to fall or fail, always fall or fail forward. And that was something that did not stick with me until later on in my career. So after I got cut from the NFL, I started off in corporate America as a graphic web designer, worked my way up the ladder, was leading teams, design development teams. And I had a lot of failures. Like I had failures as a leader, failures as a husband in a prior marriage, failures as a father, failed businesses, failed friendships. And every time that I failed, I learned something from those failures and I applied them to the next phase, the next project, the next relationship, the next job, the next business that I had. And failing forward to me essentially is taking all of those learnings, and using them as teaching moments for the next phase of your life, and also to help other people not repeat some of those same mistakes. So that's how I've come to Fail Forward. I officially created the brand Fail Forward probably 2014, 2015 when I started speaking and mentoring people. And now it's just my daily mantra.
Jacob, your story of resilience is really inspiring. And I think it offers a broader message to all of us. It's like your ability to adapt and accept failure as fuel and to keep moving forward through these academic challenges, the NFL
Yeah.
challenges, when you thought you were signed, but that new
Yeah.
head coach had a different perspective. But then you tacked on to the Raiders and you started practicing with them. And you're like, all of your challenges and business struggles and personal losses and homelessness, like it shows that success is not always linear.
Right.
And there's a great book that underpins all of this. Like I just started this book. It's called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. And I think
Love it.
about you through every freaking page because it's all about the concept of people that have a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And that as a society, we value natural, effortless accomplishments over achievement through effort.
Yeah.
And like we endow our heroes and think that they have these superhuman abilities that lead them to inevitably like towards their greatness. And so she uses the example of Midori coming out of the womb fiddling, Michael Jordan dribbling, Picasso doodling, Jacob Brown already speaking on stage in the womb. And this captures the fixed mindset so perfectly because it's everywhere. Whereas people with the growth mindset think differently. Like people with the growth mindset believe that geniuses too have to work very hard for their achievements, and effort is admired and failure is discussed, not persecuted. And
Right.
so I could sit here all day and talk to you about like personal resilience, the power of using failure as fuel and how you transform your life. But what I want to hopefully get out of today and really the audience and what I hope that they get out of today, because a lot of my audience on LinkedIn are, event conveners, event organizers, people that are looking to hire individuals like yourself to step on their stages and come and inspire their audiences. And so what I would love to learn over the next, 15, 20 minutes, and I'm sure our audience would as well, is how you've used your story as a message to inspire audiences. How you became a speaker, what makes a great speaker, the best speaking engagements that you've ever been to, how to negotiate with speakers, and all of those things. So with that said, I'll tee up Sheldon to sort of bring us into like, more of the nitty gritty questions around that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, I would love to jump into that. And yeah, there's so many different directions that we can go. And I think one direction is where we started. So something, Jacob, we can take it from you first, and Joey, go to you. But Jacob, when did you first find yourself on stage, inspiring people or doing just public speaking? And do you kind of remember some of those early speaking gigs? What were they like for you?
I guess it started, back when I was in high school, middle school, when I was the team captain of my teams, right? Before any game, there was some player that had to say something to get the team ready to go out there. And I was usually that player, and that carried into college where I was a team captain of my team there. But once I got into corporate America, I was realizing that the conversations I was having one-on-one or in a group setting with my teams felt more like a motivational talk, right? A transformational talk, getting them in their minds prepared to not look back at yesterday, but to look at what could be in the future, and kind of transforming their minds. So I officially did my first keynote back in 2014 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And a few years later in 2017, I was brought back to my high school alma mater to do the commencement speech for the high school graduation. So that's when I first stepped on stage and realized that I could impact a lot of people at one time instead of just one-on-one. This is where I felt a lot more filled, and I felt that I could create change in ways that many people could not from a stage. And that's when I guess the bug hit me.
That's exciting. And with these speaking gigs, obviously you're a paid speaker. How do you go about on that journey? How do you start to set your prices in looking at different events? What does that process look like for you? How is it different now than where you were first starting out?
Yeah, when I first started out, listen, I even today, I don't speak for money. I speak for impact. I just so happen to get paid. when I first started speaking, I was charging not that much because I did not have the confidence in my ability. I didn't have the experience. I had no idea what the market was charging for a speaker like me. So I had a certain range, right? And the range was quite low until I got an inquiry years ago where someone valued me more than I valued myself. And that's when I realized that, oh, I can actually create and make this thing into a business. And that's how I started to shape and reshape myself. Market rate is market rate, but I believe that impact is invaluable. So I make sure that I try to stay
So good.
at least within the market rate. And I definitely don't want to blow people's budgets, but I also want to be respectful of my time and also theirs.
I love
Very
how he
cool.
just pops on and pops off.
I'm still figuring out the best way to do it, but I like
I like it. I
living
like
in
it.
the wings. You two are the stars. I'm just here with the questions.
I also like how we're in order of height. So like at least on my screen, Jacob's the tallest, then me, then Sheldon's all
little.
the way down. Like
I'm a little mouse.
just sitting lower in the chair. That's all.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, Joey, what about you? I know you're doing more speaking engagements. You're getting up on the stage more and more, and like trying to make events more impactful, scaling this company. Do you remember your first speaking engagement, and like, was your first one paid, or what does it look like now? Like, are you starting to get paid ones? What's your speaking journey been?
My first speaking engagement was in 2018. And I spoke to students, high school students in the CAPS program. So CAPS is the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. It's a high school program for kids that want to be entrepreneurs. And so I was particularly inclined to speak to this group of entrepreneurs because I started my first business when I was 9 years old. I had this like fascination with motors. And so my parents got me this bubble lawnmower. And then eventually I convinced them to get me a real lawnmower. And then I just went door to door, knocking doors and saying, hey, look, I'm the neighborhood lawn guy. Let me take care of your grass. And who's going to say no to this 9-year-old super cute kid going door to door with a lawnmower? So then I created flyers. I did the whole thing. And eventually I grew that to managing 30 properties and also, going to high school full time. I had 2 employees, and that experience bought me my first car, and it educated me on how to manage money by investing in the stock market and still keeping a rainy day fund for business expenses. And it helped me pay for various expenses throughout college. And I love the outdoors and anything with a motor. So the next business that I opened was a car detailing business. And so I just wanted to inspire these kids to lean into that curiosity and the passion to pursue something and put some damn effort into it. So that was my first speaking engagement. It was free. I did it for impact. And my first paid one was a few years ago. But instead of being paid a sum of money, this is the event that I met Jacob at. Instead of being paid a sum of money to speak on that stage, we went to them and had a different sort of approach. And it was, hey, you need event production at your event. You want this event to be impactful. You want quality audio visual. You want all the visuals. You want all the all the sessions recorded. Let us offer you that. And we'll donate my speaking in kind as a part of our service package. And so we just gave a sponsorship for me to speak on stage. And it became a win-win-win. It's kind of like the Napoleon Hill methodology. You have something I need. We have something you need. And in this case, they were giving me access to their audience. And in my case, I was bringing our team to give them next level audio, visual, and production. And so it became a win-win-win all around, and an even bigger win because I met Jacob.
That does sound like wins all around. And so for these events, now that you both have attended a lot of events, spoken at several, probably attended many events that you haven't spoken at as well, what makes an event stand out to you? Like, what makes you want to brag about this event? What makes you want to return to it, to promote it, to show up? I think both of you, feel free to take this, since I think you each have unique perspectives. But what really makes an event stand out to you? What are kind of the first things that you think of?
Let me take
start
that.
or me?
Yeah, I can start. I can
Yeah,
start.
go
For
for it.
me, from a speaker standpoint, a few big things stand out for me. Audio visual, making sure that there's good audio, good music that's playing in between. There's those quiet times where there's transitions. I absolutely love that, where there's no dead space, I guess you could say. for me also making sure that I have a walk-up song when I go up on the stage.
Yeah.
It's a very small thing, but it kind of eliminates the tension and the nervousness for any speaker when they're going up on stage, is to have some sort of transition music. It doesn't even have to be their music, but some sort of transition music. And also the screens, right? Not just having a normal orientation or dimension screen, but maybe having a wider type screen or taller screens, something that just throws the eye off a little bit, and that there's motion going through those screens as well, I think changes the dynamic of any event.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off of that. As the owner of an event production and management company, finding facilitators and keynote speakers is not foreign to me. I love it. And as much as we in our company think about the attendee experience, we too are also thinking about the speaker experience. Because if they're going to be if we make them feel awesome,
Yeah,
like they're going to be more inclined to promote and market your event beforehand, saying, "Hey, I'm speaking at this thing," and afterwards saying like, "Wow, these people are amazing." And so one thing we recently did for a speaker named Ali Canavan, awesome human being, is when she was finished speaking, I got up on stage and facilitated a really quick greatest gift reflection. And I said, "Hey, everyone in the room, a couple hundred of you right now, what's the greatest gift that Ali just offered you from her speech? What shifted in you? What are you going to apply to your business now because you've been made better because of what she just shared?" And so the audience, as a result, showered her with gratitude, and she completely lost it on stage. She was just overwhelmed by emotion. And so I'd ask, like, how do you think that made her feel? Pretty damn good.
absolutely.
And if we stopped there, it would have conceivably been perhaps one of the most, if not the most impactful speaking engagements that she ever had. But we took it one step further. We recorded all of these shares from the audience and we sent them to Ali 30 days later. And we said, "Hey, Ali, we just want to love on you. It's been 30 days since you spoke at our event. If you're ever feeling stuck or sad or burnt out, just watch this video back and look at all these lives you've changed in a positive way." And so for us, it's like we want to do something special and out of the ordinary that makes those speakers want to promote, to show up, to speak, and then to brag about it. And Ali still talks about this event. At least I think. I don't want to speculate and put words in it, but when I connected with her last, it was still something super memorable for her. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think it's how do we expand the pie and be unique
Love it.
and ensure speakers remember our events.
And it sounds like something that you're saying is that the attendee experience and the speaker experience very much go hand in hand. Like that it is something that if one experience is great, the other is going to benefit from that. And I love that story, Joey. And I was wondering, Jacob, if you had an event that you could think of, something that you felt like a very powerful connection to like that with Joey. Is there anything like some very memorable event that you attended or one of your favorites? Like maybe it was something I can't speak today. An organizer did for you, or maybe it was just something, yeah, a way that you felt that cohesion. Is there a very like memorable event you can think about?
Yeah, I think Joey's team, like he said, they do a great job of making the speaker feel welcome, making them feel valued and seen. And I think that that's very important for a speaker prior to going on stage and even after they come off stage. I've got three favorite events. One is Cause Camp, where I met Joey. One is Intel, where I spoke down in San Antonio, and the last one was CASA, that I just spoke at in Dayton, Ohio. But specifically for Cause Camp and Joey's team, one of the things that they did for me that no one else has done prior to going on stage, the young lady that was miking me up in the green room in the back before I went on stage, she asked me if I wanted to take a quick video or picture before I went on stage. And she took a picture of me and a quick video for my social media before I went on stage. And I was just like, "Hey guys, down here at Cause Camp, I'm getting ready to speak to 350 professionals, blah, 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 blah." And she took that video for me. And
I
that's
didn't know
going
this
above,
happened.
yeah, that's going above and beyond of what a handler does. And I also think having a handler for your speaker changes the game. Like most of the time we're at these events, we're out there by ourselves. We don't really know where to go. Whoever brought us there, the chief marketing officer, they're busy doing stuff. Have someone that can take care of your speaker, that is their sole job. And that's what Joey's team did for me. And that changed the game for me. It was a great experience. It provided me with confidence before I went on stage. And it was one of my favorite keynotes.
Wow, that's super cool. I'm going to bring that back to Jordy now. I don't know if Jordy, if you're watching, kudos. That's awesome. Way to make Jacob feel really important and special.
And that's something exciting for me to hear too, because I know that is something Joey is always talking about, different ways to make an impact, to make people feel special and appreciated, whether they are the attendees or a speaker. Joey, are there other things that you're thinking of trying to make people feel special, trying to make people feel loved on, appreciated? I know this is one of them that we're always talking about, helping people produce content like that, to record right before you get on, capture that energy.
Yeah, sure.
What other things are going through your mind when you're trying to make people feel appreciated?
I just think relatability and humanizing yourself. Like, we produced an event in Nashville a couple months ago, and I'm thinking about it because I'm drinking a coffee. By the way, I'm drinking it out of a straw because I have Invisalign on, and if I don't drink out of a straw, it's like stains the conversation for a different day.
I love it.
But I'm drinking coffee at this event, and I'm in a breakout. There's maybe 60, 70, 80 people in this smaller breakout space. And our team's producing the show. And this woman comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, that coffee smells amazing." And I'm like, "If you had coffee in your hand right now, how do you take it?" And she goes, "I take it black with a splash of cream and 2 sugars." So what did our team do? We brought her the coffee. She didn't have coffee in the breakout room. She said she was going to get the coffee after the session.
Yeah.
But we brought her the coffee during the breakout. We ran up in the kitchen, got it for her, brought it back down to the breakout session. And she talked about that 3 days after the conference and sent an email to the event organizers. And so I think, again, it's just that element of just being cool.
Yeah.
Just be cool. Just be a human. Just be cool. It's so easy to be stressed out and overstimulated and anxious and all the things that we as business people feel every day. And I think if we can get out of our heads and into our hearts a little bit more often, and just love on people.
That's great. That's so good. And I think that is something that we're always having to think about, that kind of the opening our hearts to people. But there's also the kind of the harder stuff too. We mentioned navigating payments and everything. What are some of the trickier things to navigate when it comes to speaking? And what are some tips and tricks that you might have, Jacob? I know with, navigating fees and stuff. What are other big things that you're thinking of that aren't maybe as filled with the heart, but that you're always having to think of, that people watching might want to hear, whether they are a speaker themselves or an event organizer?
Yeah, I would say this can go both ways, right? So whenever you're negotiating fees, whether you are the speaker or whether you are the event planner, think about things that are not, I guess you could say, tangible. Think about things that are outside of just dollar amounts. One of the things that I would do, and I will be honest about this, I love to travel to new cities I've never been to because I love food. I love food. So I have taken lower speaking fees to go to locations that I wanted to try the food there in that location. I went and spoke in New Hampshire. I went and spoke at a New Hampshire Chamber business event earlier this year. And I only took the speaking engagement because I wanted some seafood from New Hampshire. Period. Right. So I took a lower fee. They paid for my travel. They paid for my hotel. Everything was good. But it was a lower speaking fee. But I really, really wanted to try the clam chowder. I wanted to try the fish that was in this area. And it turned out to be a great experience. And the event was awesome. So think about the other things that you can get in the experience. If you're an event planner, I want you to think about this. If you're an event planner, if you can promise the speaker high quality video, audio, and photography about 30 days or less after the event, they will be more than likely willing to take on that speaking engagement, because all speakers need assets. Okay. We need assets, and we need good assets. So if we have good video, good audio, that will help us to be able to retain and get new speaking engagements. If you take it a step further and say, hey, not only will we provide you with your talk, maybe we'll do a 30 to 60-second highlight reel of your talk and provide you that as well, or a few social media assets. That is far more than any dollar amount, because if you don't know how to edit video, you're going to have to pay someone else to do that. So if you can provide them with that additional value, it'll go a long way.
That's so good. It's so good. By the way, hey to PJ and Kelly. PJ's on our team. Kelly, she's failing forward in life per her comment.
Love
And
it.
I mean, hey, just sort of, dovetailing into, something that I want to share in regard to what you just commented on, Jacob, is oftentimes, and something we talked about briefly before we hit record or went live, oftentimes in business, we're looking to dissect the pie. That there's only a limited, like it's the scarcity mindset. There are only a limited number of pieces of pie, and we want to make sure that we get the most pie that we possibly can, whether that's in the way of outcomes, effort, money in our pockets as the organizers or whatever. And so I think it's important to offer the visual of expanding the pie.
Yeah.
So an example here is I'm in EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a mastermind group. There was a particular keynote speaker that was $250,000. We couldn't afford him on our own as an organization. But there was another org that was similar to us, but much bigger, much deeper pockets. And so we asked the speaker if he'd be cool inspiring an additional 300 people. And the speaker said yes, he loved it because it's 300 more eyes, it's more promotion, more people in the room. And so they picked up the vast majority of that cost. We kicked in some money, but for them, it was super valuable to be able to get access, the access that only we could provide through EO to a speaker like that. And so working out arrangements like that, where you're able to split the bill. Another example of that is we have speakers where we have 2 to 3 conferences happening back to back to back. So like, for instance, we had a weekend or a week where we had a conference in Kansas City, then St. Louis, then in Nashville, all 3 to 4 hours apart from each other. The speaking fee was $25,000 for, as an example, I'm just pulling out a number, and for one 60 to 90 minute keynote. Right. And so we said, hey, listen, let's save each of these different organizers $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Can you do the speaking fee and reduce it from 25 down to 16 or 18, and we'll get you 3 events? That's more exposure to you. That's more promotion for you. More people you can inspire. And so we're trying to expand the pie. Instead of negotiating speakers down, it's trying to offer them more opportunities. And so, yeah, I mean, some other just rapid fire things is like we can offer to buy X number of copies of their book. Yeah. We can tell them, hey, why don't you, when you're on stage, offer up private coaching sessions to our audience for whatever your coaching fee might be. Maybe you only offer a limited number of those for $5,000, whatever the number is. Sell private Zoom coaching for teams, where maybe you're speaking to a group of entrepreneurs and those entrepreneurs want to take Jacob Brown back to their companies. You say, hey, if you scan that QR code right now, I'll give you this session for your entire team for a reduced cost. And so it's, again, expanding the pie, allowing that speaker other opportunities to engage people beyond just the stage itself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I know we are running low on time here. It's been a fascinating conversation so far, but I wanted to remind everybody watching, send in your questions if you have any in the chat. I know, like Joey mentioned, we had Kelly and PJ commenting, sending their love, failing forward in life, which is excellent. And while those are kind of coming through, to summarize a little bit of what we were talking about today, the two of you really talked about the kind of speaker experience, how the attendee experience go hand in hand together, having a handler for your speaker, a little extra love, whatever you can do to make that experience easier, promising people like audio, video assets after the event is over. These things go such a long way for your speakers on stage. Is there anything else you can think of that, like while we're wrapping up, that you really want to make sure people are thinking about?
There's one more thing on that is we had an event where there was a massive podcast. There was a podcaster in the audience, and this podcast was had pretty big influence. And so we told the speaker before, we're going to get you on this podcast while you're in town at the studio, at the live studio with all the professional recording and lighting and audio. So it was just like another thing. You don't only get to step on stage, but you get access to this network of a couple 100,000 people. So that was another way to try to offer additional value. Jacob, what do you got?
Yeah, one more thing that's very, very small, but from a speaker standpoint, one thing that you guys must consider whenever you're putting on events is have a quiet room for speakers to go to prior to their talk. It's a very small thing, but just have a separate room where a speaker can go and drop their stuff, do their thinking, their meditation prior to going on stage. Very small thing, but it's a huge, huge thing when it is offered. And make sure you have water and tea in there.
Absolutely. The more you can do to make them feel comfortable,
Yeah.
relaxed, the better they're going to be on stage.
Yep.
So what we need to do now is for anybody listening who wants to bring Jacob to their event in 2025, you need to go on ChatGPT and figure out the cities that this man has not yet traveled to and have your event there.
Yep. Yep. Any place with good food, please bring me.
Hey, we have a comment on LinkedIn. Jacob, what's your best piece of advice for new speakers wanting to network and grow?
I would say one of your best pieces of advice is make sure that you're leveraging LinkedIn. Reach out, connect with other event planners, other speakers. Speakers are not your competition. They are your advocates. Okay. Most people look at other speakers, if they're a speaker, as a competitor, but they're actually your greatest advocate, because the more speakers you know and befriend, the more opportunity you're going to have. Because when we get booked, we're always looking to refer someone that we know, we trust, and that we believe in their message as well. So network with other speakers, network with other event planners, chief marketing officers, and then also share your work. Like share the work that you've done, the speaking that you've done. If you haven't hit many stages, set up a camera and do talks directly at your phone or your camera, so that people can start seeing, hearing, understanding your voice and your tone as well. So Anthony is one of my previous coaching clients. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. He just did a huge speaking engagement across seas, and he's an incredible speaker. So if you guys don't know Anthony, please follow the smiling bow tie as well.
And you
awesome.
just
I
mentioned
see the bow tie in the picture. Hey, Anthony.
You just mentioned your coaching. I would love, like, I'm putting now on the bottom of the screen ways people can follow you on social media. It's also on our LinkedIn event page, all of his social channels. But also, please give a second to talk about failforwardbrown.com and how people can connect with you for potential coaching if they're interested.
Yeah, failforwardbrown.com is where you go if you'd like to book me to come speak, but also where you go if you want one-to-one coaching. So I offer one-to-one coaching primarily for other coaches and or other speakers that are trying to get into the speaking game, learn how to increase their fees, or just get on more stages. So I would love to work with you guys. You guys can see who some of the other speakers I've worked with on that page, and I'm looking forward to working with you as well.
Jacob, do you think you would leave us with parting words of wisdom or something inspirational to carry us into the rest of the afternoon?
I absolutely would. So one of my favorite quotes is from Chris Gardner. Chris Gardner is who the movie The Pursuit of Happiness was about. And I firmly believe that the words that we say are some of the most powerful words, because we hear the words we say. We tend to believe the words that we hear, and we take action or inaction, and we expect those things to happen. So Chris Gardner says, speak what you seek until you see what you've said. Everything that happens in your life starts in your mind and comes out of your mouth. So whether it's good or whether it's bad, it started in your mind and it came out of your mouth. So if there's something you want to change in your life, something you want to go after in your life, start to speak those things until you see those things. And I guarantee you will see what you said.
So good. Wow. I love you, Jacob.
I love you too, man.
Yeah, those are amazing words to end on. Again, thank you so much for being here with us today. Everyone, if you have more comments after this, I know we're wrapping up here. Please leave the comments on the LinkedIn page, and we'll try our best to connect with you after the fact. Thank you again, Joey and Jacob, for an amazing Utopia live stream. And thank you everyone out there for watching. We'll catch you next time.